Tipping culture originated as a continuation of slavery. It was a legal loophole designed to provide employers with unpaid labor following the Emancipation Proclamation. In the late 1800s, most formerly enslaved Americans were pushed into service work like restaurants, hotels, and railroads, where many employers would look at them and say, "Sure, you can work here, but we ain't gonna pay you. Be real nice and polite to those rich folk, and they might throw you a little something your way, though, you hear?" And while tipping did technically exist before then, this is the historical moment in which it evolved from a flashy way for aristocrats to flaunt their wealth into a shifting of the burden of responsibility onto the customer. It's the same reasoning behind why our media constantly manufactures political division, because instead of workers and customers asking, "Wait a second, why doesn't this business pay a living wage?" they just end up resenting each other, because when you transform the problem of employee wages into a social conflict between the worker and the customer, the employer can just disappear into the background as they quietly benefit from the whole arrangement. So why exactly is the customer being treated like the payroll department? Because capitalism is always looking for ways to make labor cheaper. If the employer can pay less, make workers compete for survival, or manipulate customers into covering the cost of labor, they will. But tipping was not always normal. It was indoctrinated into us by the people who own the businesses, and over time, once a form of exploitation becomes common enough, people stop seeing it as exploitation and start viewing it as tradition. That's just how restaurants work, right? But why? Why should a worker's income depend on the mood of strangers, or a customer be responsible for filling the gap left by an employer? Why should a business be allowed to profit from labor without fully paying for that labor? Now, keep in mind, this practice developed most intensely in a country that desired the labor of formerly enslaved people, especially in service work, without having to treat them as full economic equals. So when people say tipping is just about rewarding good service, that misses the bigger picture entirely. Tipping is mostly about power. It is about who pays, who profits, and who takes the risk. And the solution is never to listen to Mr. Pink and punish workers by refusing to tip as a form of rebellion against the system, because while it may not be your fault that a worker depends on tips, they do still need that money. No, the solution is to change the system that makes them depend on tips in the first place. Abolish the subminimum wage, make employers responsible for their own payroll, and stop pretending that a person's ability to pay rent should depend on whether a stranger enjoyed their attitude. Because tipping in America was never actually about generosity or providing a high standard of service. It's just another in that seemingly endless number of oppressive and exploitative traditions which have become so deeply ingrained into American culture that we become too desensitized to question it.